You're not supposed to be doing that at your age. At least, that's what they say. But here you are, proving them wrong every single day. Over 65 and still out there walking miles, dancing on Friday nights, working with your hands, taking care of others, starting new projects, or simply showing up with a spark in your eye that says, "I'm not done yet." The truth? You're not just rare, you're legendary. That word isn't just flattery. It's a statement of fact. Because in a world that often expects older adults to slow down, step aside, and fade quietly into background, the ones who don't, the ones who still push, still laugh, still create, still live, those are the ones people remember. And if you're still doing the things you love, still trying new things, still taking care of your health, still showing up for life with heart and grit, and maybe a little mischief, you belong to a group of people that should be celebrated, not ignored. In this video, we're going to talk about the quiet, powerful habits that make people like you not just active, but unstoppable. The simple things you do that seem ordinary, but actually set you apart in the best possible way. This isn't about running marathons or climbing mountains, unless that's your thing. It's about staying alive in the truest sense of the word, and how a few small shifts can help you keep doing exactly that. So, let's talk about what makes you legendary and how to keep it going. Let's start with this. You move, not necessarily fast, not always far, but consistently. While some folks your age are told to take it easy, you realize that taking it easy is actually the fastest route to feeling older. You know your body isn't what it was at 30, but you also know it still needs to move. Maybe it's walking the dog every morning. Maybe it's gardening. Maybe you stretch before bed, or do a few squats while the kettle boils. Whatever your style, you've kept moving, and that's huge. Movement is one of the most underrated signs of resilience after 65. It's not about being athletic. It's about being alive. Your joints, muscles, circulation, even your brain, they all thank you when you get up and move. And the funny thing is, it doesn't have to be hard. A brisk 15-minute walk, done daily, has been shown to boost memory, reduce anxiety, improve balance, and even help sleep. And sleep, by the way, is a whole other kind of superpower at this stage in life. You don't have to join a gym or keep up with your grandkids on the basketball court. You just have to keep moving. Think of it like this. Every step you take tells your body, hey, we're still in this. That's not just habit, it's a mindset. And speaking of mindset, let's talk about something else that makes you legendary, your refusal to stop learning. Now, some people think learning is just for the young. College kids, tech brothers, fast-paced folks with earbuds and 3 screens open. But you've lived enough life to know better. Learning isn't about age, it's about curiosity. And curiosity is one of the greatest signs of youth, no matter how many birthdays you've had. You might pick up a new recipe or learn how to use a new app. Yes, even if it takes a few tries. Maybe you've joined a local book club, or you're experimenting with watercolor painting for the first time. Maybe you're watching videos like this one, not because someone told you to, but because you want to, because you've never lost the urge to grow. That's rare. That's powerful. That's how you stay sharp. Learning does more than fill your time. It rewires your brain, builds new connections, keeps your memory strong, and even wards off cognitive decline. Every time you challenge your brain with something new, even if you don't get it right, you're telling your mind, we're not done yet. And the best part? You're not trying to impress anyone. You're doing it for you. That's legendary. Now, there's another reason people like you stand out, and it has nothing to do with physical health or mental sharpness. It's your presence, the way you show up for people, even when you don't have to. You become someone that others rely on, not just because you're wise or experienced, but because you care. You call people back. You listen without rushing. You notice things others miss. You show up not to prove a point, but because it matters to you. Whether it's helping a neighbor, volunteering a local shelter, or being that one person who always remembers birthdays, your ability to show up with heart is something the world desperately needs more of. And let's not pretend it's always easy. Some days you're tired. Some days your knees ache or your energy dips, but you still keep going. You find ways to give, connect, and care. That doesn't make you old. That makes you strong. That's the kind of strength we don't see in headlines, but we feel it. In homes, in families, in communities. You might not always get credit for it, but the world is better because you're still doing what you do. And if no one has said it lately, let me say it. Thank you. Now that we've talked about movement, curiosity, and connection, let's keep going because this story is just getting good. There's something else that doesn't get nearly enough attention: your ability to adapt. Yes, adapt. At an age where the world often expects you to cling to routine, to resist change, you're out here navigating life with flexibility that would surprise a 30-year-old. New technologies, changing family dynamics, health shifts, even the loss of people you've loved deeply. And yet, here you are, still adjusting, still finding your footing, still moving forward. Think about it. When the world moved online, you didn't throw in the towel. You figured it out. Maybe not all at once, and maybe not without a few headaches, but you learned how to send texts, do video calls with the grandkids, maybe even order groceries from your phone. That's not just convenient, it's courageous. Adapting doesn't mean letting go of who you are. It means knowing who you are well enough to bend without breaking. And that's what real strength looks like. The kind of strength that says, I've been through enough to know this too will pass and I'll still be standing. That flexibility, mental, emotional, even spiritual, is something younger folks are just beginning to understand. But you've been living it for years. And every time you adjust, every time you pivot with grace instead of panic, you're teaching the rest of us something valuable: how to grow without hardening, how to change without losing yourself. And here's another thing that makes you legendary. You laugh. You still laugh. Not the polite kind of laugh you force at dinner parties, but the real kind. The deep belly laugh that bubbles up when your friend tells the same story for the third time, or when your dog does something ridiculous, or when your body makes a sound you didn't expect, and all you can do is chuckle and keep going. That laugh, that joy, that's fuel. And it's not just feel-good fluff. Science backs this up. Laughter improves circulation, reduces stress, lowers blood pressure, boosts immunity, and even releases endorphins that help with pain. It's like a mini vacation for your whole body. And it doesn't cost a dime. But laughter does something else, too. It reminds you, and everyone around you, that you still have a sense of wonder, that the world, despite its chaos and imperfections, still holds moments worth smiling about. That age hasn't made you bitter, but better. That's no small thing. And maybe the most powerful part of it all, you don't take yourself too seriously. You know there's humor in getting older, like the way you walk into a room and forget why, or how your joints crack like popcorn when you get up. You've learned to laugh at life's little quirks rather than get weighed down by them. That kind of perspective is rare. And frankly, it's refreshing. Because while the world often tells you to fear aging, you found ways to enjoy it. You've discovered that wrinkles don't steal your beauty. They reveal your story. That silver hair isn't something to hide. It's a crown. That growing older doesn't mean giving up. It means growing into your truest self. And that brings us to something that might just be your most legendary quality of all: your wisdom. Now, wisdom isn't the same as knowledge. Knowledge is information, facts, stats, data. But wisdom, that's earned. That's what you get when life teaches you things no book ever could. When you've lived through heartache and joy, loss and love, failure and triumph, and come out the other side with your head high and your heart still open, you might not even realize how much wisdom you carry. Because to you, it's just life experience. But let me tell you, to someone who's still figuring it out, it's gold. The way you give advice without judgment, the way you listen, the way you offer encouragement without needing credit, the way you sit with someone in silence because you know sometimes words aren't necessary. You might not have a platform, you might not have millions of followers or a best-selling memoir, but you got stories, and those stories matter. They teach, they inspire, they connect. Whether you're sharing them at the dinner table or with a neighbor on the porch, your words carry weight. And your life, just as it is a lesson in resilience, compassion, and courage. And here's the kicker. You don't see yourself as a legend. You don't think you're doing anything extraordinary. But the truth is, every day you choose to show up, grow, adapt, love, laugh, and live fully, you're defying expectations. You're challenging a narrative that says aging is about decline. You're proving that aging, done right, is actually kind of rising. And whether you realize it or not, you're leaving a mark on your family, your friends, your community, on anyone lucky enough to cross paths with you. So if you've ever wondered, does any of this really matter? Let me say it clearly. Yes, it does. You matter. And everything you do, especially the things you think no one sees, Those are the very things that make you legendary. Let's pause here for just a second, not to look back, but to take in what's really happening. Because the truth is, if you're over 65 and still doing all these things, still growing, still showing up, still finding joy in the middle of a world that often overlooks you, you're not just keeping pace, you're rewriting the rules. And maybe you haven't stopped to really let that sink in. Because no one's throwing a parade for the quiet courage it takes to age with grace. No one hands out medals for the mornings when you get up even though everything aches, or for the days you choose to be kind even when the world feels cold. But make no mistake, those moments, they matter. You don't need a standing ovation to prove you're doing something remarkable. Your life is the proof. And here's the part that a lot of people miss. You're not just living for yourself. Whether you know it or not, you're lighting the way for others. The younger generations may not say it out loud, but they're watching. They're learning what aging can look like, not just the parts with pills and appointments, but the parts filled with laughter, curiosity, deep conversations, and a kind of calm confidence that only comes from having been through it. That's why what you do still matters, more than ever. Because in a world obsessed with youth, fast results, and shortcuts, you remind us all of something deeper. That meaning is built, not bought. That time doesn't take away value. It adds it. That growing older isn't the end of something. It's the beginning of a different kind of power, a quieter one, a wiser one. And you know what else is legendary? The way you keep caring. You care about your health, not because you're afraid of getting old, but because you want to feel good. You want energy. You want clarity. You want the freedom to do what you love. Maybe that means watching what you eat, staying active, keeping up with doctor appointments, or getting outside even when the couch seems more appealing. That's not vanity. That's investment in your body, in your future, in your ability to keep showing up for the things that matter. And let's not forget your emotional health. You've learned, sometimes the hard way, that stress and worry are sneaky little thieves. They creep in, steal your sleep, drain your energy, cloud your thinking. But instead of pretending they don't exist, you've found ways to manage them. Whether it's prayer, meditation, walking in nature, journaling, or just talking to a trusted friend, you found healthy ways to stay grounded. And that's not just self-help fluff. That's survival. That's how you keep your heart open when life tries to close it. And here's the truly amazing thing. While the world rushes around chasing the next big thing, you figure out something they haven't. Contentment. That quiet sense of peace that says, I may not have it all, but I have enough. That's something most people spend their whole lives chasing. But you've tasted it. You've sat in it. You've learned that happiness isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just sitting on the porch with a warm drink, watching the sky change color. Sometimes it's watching your grandchild smile, or making a stranger laugh, or finally forgiving yourself for something that's been sitting heavy for years. Those little moments, they're not so little. They're everything. And when you start seeing your life through that lens of purpose, perspective, peace, you start to realize this chapter you're in, it's not a closing chapter. It's not the winding down of a story. It's a bold, beautiful act in its own right. Maybe even the most important one. Because this is the part where you get to live fully, where you stop worrying so much about what others think and start listening to your own inner voice, the one that says, now's the time to travel, to rest, to speak your truth, to heal, to create, to love again, to let go. There's a kind of freedom that comes with this season of life, if you're willing to grab it. And you're doing it. Maybe not perfectly, maybe with a few wobbles along the way, but you're showing up day after day, choosing to live with intention, with heart. And that, my friend, is legendary. Let's talk about legacy, not the kind written on gravestones or listed in a will, but the kind you're building right now. Every moment you choose to live with purpose, to care deeply, to keep showing up, that's legacy in motion. You might not think of yourself as someone leaving a mark, but believe me, you are. It's in the way you call a friend who's struggling, the way you still send birthday cards in the mail, handwritten and thoughtful, the way you show up to the family gathering with that one dish everyone loves, or how you take time with your grandchild, not just to spoil them, but to teach them, to share a bit of your story, your perspective. Those small things, they echo. And that's the beautiful part. Legacy isn't loud. It's not flashy. It's in the quiet moments that stick with people long after you leave the room. It's how you make others feel safe, loved, understood. That kind of impact doesn't come from age. It comes from living fully, no matter how many candles were on your last birthday cake. Now, I know some days are harder than others. Maybe you face loss that still catches you off guard. Maybe you've had to let go of things you never thought you'd lose, mobility, independence, roles you once held, and it's okay to grieve that. It's okay to have days where everything feels heavy, but even on those days, you're still here, still doing the work of living, and that alone is worth honoring. And let's be honest, sometimes the hardest part isn't what you've lost, it's what people assume you've lost. They assume you're slowing down, winding down, out of touch. But you've got more fire in you than they realize. More to give, more to experience, and more to say. So say it. Write that poem. Start that blog. Learn the guitar. Paint the canvas. Share the story. Dance in the kitchen. Make the phone call. Try something new. Make someone smile. Let yourself be amazed. Yes, even now. Especially now. Because here's the truth they don't tell you enough. Your age is not your limitation. It's your advantage. You've already walked through storms. You've already learned the hard lesson. You've developed patience, perspective, and a kind of wisdom that only comes from time. And those things, they are power. And maybe the world doesn't always make space for people like you shine, but that's exactly why you must. Not just for yourself, but for everyone watching. For everyone younger who needs to know that life doesn't end at 65. It opens up in a different way. Sometimes slower, sometimes quieter, but often deeper, richer, and more intentional. So if you're still doing the things you love, still laughing, still caring, still growing, still trying, then yes, you're not just rare, you're legendary. Not because you've climbed Mount Everest or launched a rocket into space, but because you've stayed human in a world that keeps asking people to give that up. Because you've kept your heart open when it would have been easier to shut it down. Because you've made space for love, for change, for forgiveness, for joy. You've lived, and you're still living. So take a moment to feel proud, not just for what you've done, but for who you are, for who you're still becoming. And if no one's told you today, let me be the first. You matter. Your story matters. And this world is better because you're in it. If any part of this spoke to you, I'd love for you to share your thoughts in the comments. What's something you're still doing after 65 that people said you wouldn't or couldn't? Your story might just inspire someone else to keep going. And if you found this helpful, please give the video a like. It helps more people see it. And consider subscribing if you like more videos made just for you. We're building a community here that celebrates life at every age, and especially the age where most people stop paying attention. Here's to living your best life, not in spite of your age, but because of it. Keep going. You're not done yet. You're just getting started. And to that, I say, legendary.